Hi friends, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Caitlin and I like to do eyeshadow palette ranking and review videos as well as the occasional other beauty content sprinkled in. So if any of those things are of interest to you, I definitely recommend that you hit that subscribe button because I post 2 videos every single week. And for those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you are seeing it again. And I know that this lash is like drooping. I kind of have like a droopier eye on this side because of how I sleep. So anyways, this lash is just, because it's such a thick lash, it's making that more pronounced. But anyways, we're moving on because we are here to rank every eyeshadow palette that I used in the month of July. So if you are new here, what I like to do is rank palettes, new and old, just whatever I used in my collection in the month, just so you can get an idea of where these new palettes that I tried stack up against stuff that I've reached for. And then also, as time goes on, it gives you a good idea of what new palettes do I actually like, what am I continuing to use and reach for each month. So anyways, let's go ahead and get on into it. Okay, I have 22 eyeshadow palettes to rank. I did my makeup every day in the month of July. I combined some of these palettes, I used some of them multiple times, so I have a good grasp of what I liked and did not like in the month of July. So starting with number 22, it's going to go to my Melt Cosmetics 27 palette, and I feel like I liked all of the palettes. Like, there's not a dud in here. There's not a palette that I'm gonna be like, it's all right. Like, I like all of these eyeshadow palettes. So anyways, just want to preface that. But this is the 27 eyeshadow palette. It's just more of a neutral, kind of boring palette. If you're not new here, I'm sorry if this is getting redundant, but the shades in this palette are like mid-tone to deep. There's not anything light enough for my very pale skin tone. So I do have to combine this palette, but this palette combines very nicely with any other palette in my collection, and I can use like lighter colored shimmers, lighter colored transition shades, so I'm not mad at it. It's just a palette has to go at the bottom, so that's where it went. Okay, number 21 is the Kai Love Beauty Impressionism palette. I bought this palette when they were having a BOGO, and there's honestly nothing wrong with it. I just don't really reach for it because it's not like a brand new palette. So that might be my fault because I bought like a sale palette. I need to play with this more, to be honest, and really get my thoughts. But the matte quality is really nice. The shimmers are nice. I think there's a reason that I didn't pick this palette up when it initially launched. And so I shouldn't probably have purchased it just because it was on sale. But, you know, we'll see. I'll get more use out of it and see if my opinion changes. Number 20 is the Viseart Editorial Brights palette. You've all heard, if you've been here before, you've heard me talk about my Viseart palettes. I'm obsessed with them. I love this palette, like the color, like the shade choices. I love that it's all matte. I love that I can blend in with that white and get a cohesive look. And then I love pairing it with an all shimmer palette that you'll see later in this ranking. But this one's down here just because it's very bright and it's like neon, and I don't like that every day. So yeah, there's just other palettes that I want to reach for more. That's really what it boils down to. Number 19 is the Beetlejuice and Melt Cosmetics collab, the Waiting Room palette. This palette is unfortunately discontinued. We haven't talked about any palettes that are new to me or new for the month yet. So just wanted to make sure I was keeping track of that. But anyways, I've had this palette for a while. It was really nice to pull it out. I do like this color story, which is interesting because I don't typically like red toned eyeshadow, although I know I'm wearing like an orangey red tone right now. But anyways, I like this palette. I think it's nice. Yeah, so that's really it. I don't have any like specific thoughts on it. Number 18 is going to be the Viseart Dark Edit palette. This palette has a similar issue for me to the 27 palette in that I have to pull in another palette to make like to get a transition shade. And I just want to be really clear on this. I'm not saying that should keep you from purchasing palettes. How many eyeshadow palettes do we all have that like bone colored shade? Or if you don't, this is what I did today. I didn't even use like a bone colored matte or anything. I just pulled like a pressed powder and got it on a fluffy brush, and that's how I blended it out. And I have this Dark Edit palette actually in my crease today. So I have these 3 dark shades here. So anyways, you can make this work for you, but if I'm having to rank my eyeshadow palettes, it's how they work for me personally. So that's why this is ranked here, but this is still a really good palette, and I think anyone could enjoy it. So I just want to make that point crystal clear. Okay, number 17 is the Milk Cosmetics Brunette palette. I really like this palette. It always ends up low in my rankings, but I do like this palette. I like the shimmers, I like the mattes. This is a great palette to pull in those transition shades for the other palettes that aren't deep enough for me. Yeah, I think my makeup looks really pretty whenever I do a look with this palette. So I don't know why it's like this overall palette never gets ranked that high, because I really like it, but this is just based on my personal experience of these palettes. Number 16 is going to be the Viseart Cashmere Étendue palette, if I can get it out of the packaging. That's what the outer packaging looks like. This is a really nice neutral palette, and I actually think it's a pretty interesting neutral palette. You have more of these like almost like khaki-ish cool tones in the corner with these plum shades, and I just think it's a really interesting neutral palette. I like it a lot, and that's why because it's a little bit more interesting, that's why I ranked it ahead of the brunette palette. But it is a neutral palette, and I don't go for neutrals that often. I do like neutrals, don't get me wrong, I go for color more often than neutrals, although there's a lot of neutral palettes in this ranking, so maybe I'm wrong. Number 15 is the Milk Cosmetics Mary Jane palette. This is a grungy neutral palette, so again, a more interesting neutral color story. That's why it's ranked a little bit higher. I really like this palette. I know a lot of people didn't like the quality of the shimmers. I like the shimmers. I forget, I think it was one of the owners was saying that they wanted like a refracted light look, and I feel like these shimmers are chunky, and that's what they accomplish on the lid. I don't feel like they're so chunky. Like, they're chunky to the extent that they enhance some of your texture, but that's like adds to their chunkiness. I don't know how to explain it. So I guess depending on your makeup preferences, you might not like those shimmers. I really like them. Number 14 is my Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 3 Infinite Light palette. Yeah, I know you can see I have like a big pan and Golden Eclipse. It's one of my favorite highlight shades. This palette is really nice. These shades are super interesting. I'm not somebody who has like really shifty single shadows, so I really like this palette. I just have such a hard time getting them to not fade or crease, so that's why it is where it is. If these performed really well, I'd be wearing them every single day. I like to wear them when I'm not gonna have my makeup on that long, and they work okay, but I usually do my makeup in the morning and I wear it like all day through work. So anyways, but I work from home, so I also wear them for that, because even though it creases or fades, nobody sees it but me. So anyway, that is that. Number 13 is the Martine's Diner palette from Martine Cosmetics. I'm so sad mine got like so dirty, but that's okay. I love the inside of this. It's an American 50s diner theme. I like this palette. I think the mattes work really nice. The shimmers aren't like super shifty, but they're very wet metallic looking. So, and they're opaque. So I think they look nice. I've liked every single look I've created with this so far. I think this is a really nice palette. The packaging is a little bit on the bulky side, but it's not that bad. I've stored it no problem, so that's not a huge issue for me. I should say that is the first new palette for the month of July. So that palette launched, I don't know if it launched in July, it might have launched in June, but anyways, that was like a brand new palette on the market. That's the first one that is new to this. Our second new palette is going to be our number 12 ranked palette, and that's the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Primal palette. I do really like this. My issue is that the shimmers are so dark, and so they're all beautiful. The formula is beautiful. I love the color story of the mattes, but that shimmer row, if they were like a little bit lighter, that would work more for my makeup aesthetic. But I have been reaching for these. I think they're stunning. I think if you like this color story and you like a darker shimmer, fine. Or if you have palettes where you already have lighter shimmers and you want to use this palette to combine with it, it's really great for that. So that is number 12. Number 11 is the Milk Cosmetics Muerte palette. The mighty has fallen far. This is the color story. It's this like minty color story, and then red, blues. They discontinued this palette, but they just recently brought it back so people could repurchase. I like it. It's just, I think there's an aspect to this ranking of like the new exciting stuff. You know what I mean? Like so I've had this palette for years. I bought it when it originally launched, so some of the newer, more exciting things have my heart a little bit more than this palette, but this is still a really nice palette, and the pigmentation of these darker mattes is like almost unbeat in my collection. Like maybe the Blend Bunny palette goes as deep as this palette, but beyond that, there's not a ton of mattes that get that deep. So I really like that palette, but it's just, I like the other ones more. Okay, number 10 is the Viseart Soleil, Petite Pro Soleil palette. This is an older palette of theirs that they relaunched in new packaging. Here's the new packaging, it's adorable. I like this palette. It's a really pretty sunset look. I like this purple I can't point. I like this purple shimmer a lot. I think this is a really nice palette, and I don't have any issues with it, but you gotta rank them where you gotta rank them, you know what I'm saying? Number 9 is the Milk Cosmetics Muerte Mariposas, and I think this is partially just because I didn't love the look I did with this palette, because I really like this palette. And I was kind of shocked I ranked it here, but I liked the look I did with it, but I didn't love it. If you watched my Milk Cosmetics like sort of weird ranking bracket video that I just did, I gave my thoughts on the look that I did in there. But anyways, I really like this palette. I think it's stunning. I believe it's still available on their website. This is what they launched for holiday last year. It's really nice. I just think for summertime, the color story wasn't working for me. So I think as I get more use of this palette like throughout the year, I'll probably like it a bit more. Number 8 is the Viseart Petite Pro Chou Chou palette. Similar to the Soleil palette, this is an older palette that they relaunched in new packaging, which is adorable. The new packaging is adorable. This one's slightly harder because I'm living for these pink shades, and then this shimmer right here in particular, what is that? Sorbet, is so pretty. It's one of my favorite shades in my collection, so I really like this palette. I think this is fun and perfect for summer, so I've just really been enjoying using that. Number 7 is a new to me palette. This is the Plain Jane Remastered palette. I have been absolutely loving this. I have 4 of, I think I have 4 of the shades. I have AC 10, 11, 14, and 16. AC 10 is in my inner corner, and then 16, 11, and 14 are all over my lids. This palette is absolutely stunning. I think I might like it better than the Heather Austin palette. I'm sorry, Heather, I really like your palette, but purple shadows have my heart. So I've been absolutely adoring this palette. It's been so fun to use. This is number 6. This is my Cash Beauty Color Trip palette. This palette was number 1 for a long time last year, and I had a hard time with this ranking, but I need to clean up my water activated liners down here. But anyways, I love this palette. This is the first palette that I saw that had water activated liners and shadows in the same palette. I like these shimmers. I also really adore the mattes and just the overall color story on this palette. I just ranked the other palettes higher because they have shimmers that I like more. That's really the only difference, but I really like this palette, and this is a palette that, I mean, if you've been watching these videos, you know I reach for this one pretty regularly, so that's a good one. Number 5 is the Odin's Eye Solmon 2 palette. I really like this palette. Like, there's like these shimmer shades are absolutely stunning. The mattes are really beautiful. I just like the other palettes that I ranked ahead of it a little bit more color story wise, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with this palette. The shimmers are stunning, mattes are beautiful. Like I said, it's a really fun color story to play with. I just have a slight preference for the other color stories. Okay, number 4 is the Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette. This palette is unfortunately discontinued, although I think they came out with their Midnight palette to like kind of make up for it. I adore this blue, teal, purple color story. I think this is so lovely. I love the shimmers in this palette. I've liked every single look I've ever done with this palette. Yeah, I just really like this palette. I think Beauty Bay has a great quality for their price too. Okay, the next 3 palettes are all new palettes. So the new stuff in the month of July just really hit it out of the park for me. I really liked all of the new stuff. First up is, in the 3rd place spot, is the Lethal Cosmetics 1 Up palette. I do have a palette Oh, do I have a palette? I do have a video with this palette on my channel. I think I have a palette with all of the new, because what were the new ones? I have a palette with, I have a video with these three, the Martine Steiner. Yeah, every single new palette I used, I have a video with, and then some of the older palettes I also have videos with. So check the description box below. I'll link the video for each palette. If I have a dedicated video on it, I'll link it there. But anyways, number 3 is the Lethal Cosmetics 1-Up palette. The shimmer shades in this palette just speak to my soul. It does have that neon matte color story similar to the Editorial Brights, which is fun, but not what I always want to do. But I like grabbing for these shimmers with some of my other looks. But I really love this palette, and I think the shimmers in this palette are stunning. And the mattes are really good quality. Don't get me wrong. They're just like really bright. So if you want a really bright look, they're super fun for that. But if you want to like a little bit more toned down look, you can still grab the shimmers for that. You know what I mean? My number 2 in 1 palette. I'm torn. I think I know the answer. My number 2 palette is going to be the Nomad Cosmetics Fête de Provence palette. I love this color story. It's so beautiful. These shimmers that they put in this palette are chef's kiss perfect. They are perfect. Every single one of them performs so well. The mattes, I love that it's like a light and a deep for every matte. I love the color story. I love how these shades work together. I love it. I love this palette. I almost wanted to put this number 1. But anyways, this is another, like I said, new. But the palette that I picked number 1, I had to put number 1. I did only use it once in the month of July because it got to me the second to last day of July. And so I used it on the last day of July. And then today is August 6th that I'm filming it. And I've used it pretty much every day since I've gotten it. I just want to keep playing with it. Well, except for today. I already told you what I had on my eyes today. So today was the first day in a while that I didn't use this. But anyways, it's the Ace Beauté Paletopoly palette. I'm not lying to you guys when I say I love this color story. These shimmers are so pretty. These mattes blend so well. And I just think this is such a fun color story. I really, really like it. So yeah, that's the ranking of all 22 eyeshadow palettes I used in the month of July. Let me know if you have any of these palettes that I tried, old or new. I like to hear from you all in the comments down below. Let me know what your favorite palette that you used last month was, and that's it from me. I will see you all next time. Bye!